I have the good fortune to introduce to you our first presentation this evening. It's a man who I think does a really nice job of giving an overview, in a sense. He's a senior principal of a great firm, FAIA, so he's been around a while, he's seen some things, and I think his perspective is the sort of perspective I would love a lot of people to adopt. And I'm not going to give any more ado to my introduction. Bob Burkebile, please give him a very warm welcome.
Thanks, Paul. I'm delighted to be here. Is anyone having fun here? Yeah. So I'm excited about the presentations that follow mine, so I'm going to move right into this. In my lifetime, I found that I always have had more questions than answers. And it first became clear to me when I apologized to one of my professors, Bucky Fuller, for asking too many questions. And he said, Bob, don't apologize. In fact, always ask more questions. Ask the question that underlies the answer you have just been given. So I'm going to share some of those questions and how they have changed my life. And some of this is a little heavy. I think some of my colleagues that follow will lighten this up. But I think we're living in the most powerful moment in human history. So I want to start way back at the beginning. Are we all born vessels, open, ready to learn something? Or do we come with a hard drive that is pre-programmed? And how can we look this beautiful when we've just had the enormous experience of being extruded from a dark, warm, safe place to a cold world of stainless and hot lights? Or is it a process of continuous rebirth, like the lessons I learned from my father, a fourth-generation German craftsman contractor who taught me about quality and made me rebuild and redesign this treehouse 3 times before he would allow my friends to occupy it? And from my mom, a one-room school teacher who made our classroom the woodland behind our home. And she taught us to observe nature carefully enough to be able to predict where the best blackberries and mushrooms would come the following year. But Mom, why did we have to work so hard to provide enough vegetables for the entire neighborhood? And then came Bucky Fuller, who told me these architects I really admired, like Corbu and Frank Lloyd Wright, were nice people, but really thinking at much too small a scale. He said the scale is really spaceship Earth, and every design decision you make will either diminish the vitality or increase the vitality of that system. In Vietnam, I learned about other cultures and ecosystems, but most importantly, I was confronted by the first time between human capacity for beauty, love, and violence. And I thought, how can love and violence coexist? And I took those questions back to my roots in the heartland of America, thinking that might be the best environment where I could seek answers to these questions, in the landscape I most understood, among the people I most understood. And so I set up shop there in Kansas City, Missouri, starting to raise a family and practice architecture. And in raising that family, I had good success in my early years as an architect, winning local and national design competitions. And with all that success, my memory of that violence dimmed until the late 60s, when the civil disturbances came to Kansas City, as they did much of America. And I thought, oh my God, has this violence been here all along? And so when the smoke cleared, Libby and I and our children moved just a few blocks from those riots. And we started restoring abandoned buildings and homes and neighborhoods and the environment and ecosystems in our city. And some of those questions that I'd been raising I started discovering answers. And one of the most significant came in 1981 when a hotel I designed suffered a major collapse. I spent the longest night of my life on the rescue team, raising some new questions. Did I kill all these people? And as that question was answered by specialists, new questions emerged, which included, what is the real impact of our designs on the people we intend to serve? Are we improving their quality of life, their well-being, the vitality of their neighborhood, the city, the planet, or not? And I took those questions to anyone who would listen, including Amory Lovins at the Rocky Mountain Institute and Wes Jackson at the Land Institute, and maybe most importantly, to Leon Shenandoah, who taught me something that Bert Rutan mentioned this morning, inspiration. Leon said it is listening to the spirit within. It was that inspiration that led to the AI National Committee on the Environment and to the greening of the White House and to the creation of the U.S. Green Building Council and the LEED rating system, which has done more to transform the design and construction industry than anything else in my lifetime by a factor of at least 5. The scientists in Antarctica taught me the undeniable connection between our community designs and global climate change, and in turn its impact on the well-being of all the systems on which the success of human life on this planet depends. And I left Antarctica with some very new questions like, how in the hell did we get to this place? And that took me to Bacon and Descartes, who created Western scientific thought, which gave rise to the Industrial Revolution. And remember, that occurred at a time we thought we had unlimited resources. And the only problem was not enough people to do the work. But was that a valid assumption? And whether it was or not, it led us to this insatiable appetite for resources that have removed entire mountain ranges and communities and destroyed streams and ecosystems and set all the records for consumption, waste, and pollution on this planet. Now we're finding that it is obsolete, and these projects we've designed and have won design awards and top 10 green building awards in America start reaching beyond this old paradigm of doing less damage to the environment to reaching to do something restorative or regenerative. And it was that experience that led us to introduce the Living Building Challenge at Greenbuild 2 years ago. And we're very fortunate to win the first national living building competition last year with this project at the Omega Institute in upstate New York, which generates more energy than it consumes, purifies more water than it wastes, and it operates more like that Lotus than like the building in which we find ourselves now. Now, it's very hard to argue with the large pattern science that holds that we have waited too long as a society to make the major changes that will be required to sustain human life on this planet. I don't argue with that, but I choose to argue with their assumption about your capacity for change. We have seen change, and we are now moving from a culture of fear to a culture of hope. The question that remains is, are we going to rebuild an obsolete infrastructure and invest in an economy of consumption, or are we going to create a new approach that is regenerative and that will give these children reasons to hope? So help me prove these scientists wrong and Churchill right by deciding what we can do to change this system and create something that gives the children reasons to hope. And please make your commitment by the time the sun rises tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.